Across Russia's vast territory, 400 intercontinental ballistic missiles in underground silos receive encrypted launch codes. The road-mobile Topol-M launchers, hidden in forests and scattered across 11 time zones, begin their final preparations. Russia's fleet of nuclear submarines, the Boray-class boats carrying 16 Bulava missiles each, receive orders to surface and fire. Putin's target list is precise and devastating. In the United States, he targets the Pentagon, as well as missile fields in Montana, Wyoming, and North Dakota. In the United Kingdom, the main targets are the Faslane Naval Base and government facilities in London. In France, the targets include the nuclear submarine base at Brest and Strategic Forces headquarters. In Germany, he targets the Ramstein Air Base and various NATO command centers. Other likely targets include the new NATO base in Romania, as well as U.S. nuclear weapon sites in the Netherlands, Belgium, and Italy. The goal here isn't conquest, but decapitation. Putin wants to eliminate NATO's ability to respond before they realize what's happening. Only 60 seconds after Putin gives the orders, the first Russian ICBMs ignite in their silos. The launch is detected almost instantly. America's space-based infrared system satellites, positioned 22,000 miles above Earth in geosynchronous orbit, register the hot rocket exhaust signatures. Within seconds, automated systems at Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado receive the alert. The message is simple and terrifying. Russia has launched multiple ICBMs, and they have begun the first stage of their flight into a suborbital trajectory around Earth. After 2 minutes, a call reaches President Donald Trump in the Oval Office. Due to the time zone difference, a launch in the early afternoon in Russia results in it being morning in Washington. The voice of the NORAD commander is steady, but urgent. He doesn't need congressional approval. He doesn't need to consult allies. The presidential emergency satchel is brought to him immediately. The president now needs to decide whether to end civilization as we know it, and he has less than 28 minutes. After 4 minutes, a more immediate threat emerges from beneath the waves. The Russian Boray-class submarines, positioned just a few hundred miles off the U.S. coast, begin launching their Bulava missiles. These submarine-launched ballistic missiles need to travel only 1,200 miles to reach land. The proximity also means the flight time to Washington is heavily reduced. At Peterson Space Force Base, the threat assessment updates in real time. 150 ICBMs launched from Russian silos, 64 SLBMs from submarines. Estimated targets include dozens of American cities and military installations and a further dozen targets across Europe. The ICBMs headed for Europe would need roughly 10 more minutes before they drop into the third stage and start deploying warheads within. But hang on, doesn't the US have a way to try and shoot down the missiles before they reach the US? In theory, yes. There's the US Mid-Course Defense System. The GDM uses a smaller missile that autonomously tracks its target thanks to an array of sensors. If the GDM missiles are deployed within a few minutes after the ICBMs are reported to have reached the second suborbital flight stage, they would go into their own suborbital flight to intercept them. But at the scales and speeds involved in ballistic flight, no amount of technological prowess provides certainty. The best analogy analysts have when describing ballistic interception is trying to hit a bullet with a bullet, and both of those bullets move at hypersonic speeds. This is further complicated by the GDM not having the best track record. Due to the limited testing and real-life training options, there have only been 18 tests of the system since 1999. Out of those, the GDM has managed to intercept and destroy a ballistic missile only 10 times. If we extrapolate that to the roughly 400 missiles that Russia would launch at Europe and the US, it still leaves over 220 missiles that are very likely going to hit their targets. And even if they miss by a dozen or so miles, the damage they could deal is plenty. Even worse, a nuclear missile usually doesn't carry just one warhead. It can carry up to 10 of them. Each of the warheads can be deployed separately, spreading the devastation around. Russia has also likely launched decoys among the missiles, projectiles whose entire purpose is to give off a higher signature, so they are targeted by interceptors. If push comes to shove, a nuclear warhead can be deployed in flight. The ionizing radiation caused by the blast creates a momentary fog of war, further increasing the odds of other real missiles going through the U.S. defenses. After 6 minutes, Trump makes the decision that every president hopes they'll never face. He authorizes an immediate nuclear retaliation. Within 60 seconds, 400 American Minuteman III missiles in Montana, North Dakota, and Wyoming receive their launch codes. The nuclear submarines patrolling in the Pacific and Atlantic prepare to fire 20 Trident II missiles at Russian targets. 2 minutes later, in London, the Prime Minister's emergency alert system activates. Britain's 4 Vanguard-class submarines maintain continuous nuclear deterrent patrols. One boat, HMS Victorious, is currently submerged in the North Atlantic, with 16 Trident missiles armed and ready. The launch order goes out simultaneously from London and Paris. France's Force de Frappe begins firing M51 missiles from submarines in the Atlantic. Within minutes, French land-based missiles at the Plateau d'Albion join the salvo. Europe's nuclear response amounts to another 100 warheads targeted at Russian military installations. After 12 minutes, the Russian submarine-launched missiles are now just minutes from impact. American ground-based interceptors at Fort Greely, Alaska, fire desperately at incoming warheads. The ground-based mid-course defense system activates. Some interceptors find their targets. Most don't. After 16 minutes, the first nuclear weapon of World War III detonates over Washington, D.C. The 800-kiloton warhead, 50 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb, explodes 1,500 feet above the White House. The seat of the American government literally ceases to exist. The blast creates a fireball reaching 5,400 degrees Fahrenheit, instantly vaporizing everything within a half-mile radius. The Pentagon, just across the Potomac River, is obliterated seconds later by a second warhead. The destruction is absolute and immediate. In the next 15 minutes, Russian warheads detonate across America with clockwork precision. The Norfolk Naval Station, home to America's Atlantic Fleet, is erased by a 100-kiloton blast. The Offutt Air Force Base, in Nebraska, holding the Strategic Command Headquarters, is eliminated. The Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana, which contains at least 50 Minuteman silos, is destroyed before they can launch. In New York, a warhead targeting the Brooklyn Navy Yard detonates in Lower Manhattan. 8 million people have 30 seconds to comprehend their fate before the shockwave reaches them. The death toll climbs exponentially. Early estimates suggest that a large-scale attack on the most populous U.S. cities could cause millions of deaths from the blast and resulting fires. At the same time, Russian missiles reach European targets. London's financial district vanishes as warheads shower the UK capital. The blast wave flattens everything from Westminster to the Tower of London. In Paris, a missile targeted at the Élysée Palace misses by 3 miles, detonating instead over Montmartre. The resulting firestorm consumes 30 square miles of the city. Hamburg's port, and NATO's largest logistics hub in northern Europe, is eliminated by a submarine-launched warhead from the Baltic Sea. Europe isn't doing much better in terms of trying to save lives. The entire continent doesn't have a reliable interception system, only a deterrent plan that has obviously failed to work and an arsenal 5 times smaller than Russia's. After 24 minutes, America's Minuteman missiles, launched 18 minutes earlier, begin reaching their targets across Russia. The first impact destroys the Plesetsk Cosmodrome, eliminating Russia's ability to launch reconnaissance satellites. Naval base Severodvinsk, home to Russia's nuclear submarine construction, disappears under a 335-kiloton blast. Anything that's not in a nuclear shelter within 3 miles is blasted to smithereens. But the most devastating American strikes target Russia's nuclear arsenal directly. Mobile missile launchers hidden in Siberian forests are tracked by satellite and eliminated by precision strikes. Underground silos in the Kola Peninsula and across the Russian mainland are destroyed with utmost precision and impunity. After 35 minutes, the first stage of the damage is done. If both Russia and the US commit to using all their nuclear weapons before the other can destroy them, we're looking at 3,400 nuclear warheads detonated or destroyed across the northern hemisphere. Russian missile silos lie empty. Putin is likely hiding somewhere in a bunker. American command and control centers are smoking craters. Cities across Europe and the US are in blazes, with millions dead and even more dying. Then comes to coup de grace. France's final submarine-launched missiles detonate over the Kola Peninsula, eliminating Russia's Northern Fleet headquarters. Britain's last Trident missiles destroy the Pacific Fleet base at Vladivostok. The nuclear exchange is effectively over in less than an hour after the first nuclear weapon was launched to Ukraine. But the dying has only just begun. After 2 hours, as the mushroom clouds rise over a dozen cities, the scope of the devastation becomes clear. The estimated casualties of a small-scale strike that focuses on military targets over large population centers are somewhere around 15 million.